Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. The modern world seems to forget the working man is the backbone of civilization. You look around today and you see a world obsessed with flash, with flexing, with shortcuts. Everyone wants the outcome. No one wants the grind. But the truth is, it's the man who wakes up every morning, no matter how he feels, and gets to work. That man is holding this entire system together. He's the reason your lights turn on, your water runs, your deliveries show up, your roads get built, your buildings stand tall. You think power lives in boardrooms and fancy offices? Power lives in discipline. Power lives in sweat, in routine and resilience. And the working man has all three. This man doesn't chase applause. He doesn't post every move he makes online for clout. He moves in silence while others are still asleep dreaming about the life they want. He's already up building it for himself, for his family, for people who might never know his name. That's real strength, not the filtered kind, the kind forged through consistency and sacrifice. The kind that shows up when it's raining, when it's cold, when he's tired, when no one is watching. He doesn't need a motivational quote to push him, his reason pushes him. And when a man moves with reason, with purpose, you can't stop him. You see, we've built a world that praises the result, but ignores the process. Everyone loves the skyscraper, but no one claps for the bricklayer. Everyone wants the meal, but no one thanks the farmer. But I'm telling you right now, the working man is the process. He is the one who keeps the lights on when everything else is falling apart. And that's the type of man the world is trying to kill off, because a man like that can't be easily distracted. He's not chasing likes, he's chasing legacy. You know what makes the working man dangerous? He's not scared of work. In fact, he thrives in it. While the soft, weak majority cry about their circumstances, the working man adapts. He doesn't wait for the world to hand him anything. He earns his place, inch by inch, with calloused hands and a focused mind. He understands the value of time. Every hour has weight. He knows that comfort is the enemy of growth, so he doesn't get too comfortable. He stays hungry, even when his stomach is full. That's why he wins. And look, I don't care what job you could be digging ditches, repairing engines, delivering packages, or building homes. It's not about the title, it's about the attitude. If you show up with discipline, with pride, with that fire to provide and improve, you're already leagues ahead of most people. Because most people are sleepwalking through life. But the working man, he's awake, fully awake, and he understands something deep. The world doesn't owe him a damn thing. But that doesn't mean he can't take it anyway. We live in an era where the word work has become dirt. Everyone wants passive income, easy money, shortcuts to success. But let me be brutally honest. Nothing real comes without effort. There is no substitute for hustle. The working man doesn't need a get-rich-quick scheme. He's building brick by brick. And yes, it's slower. Yes, it's hard. But guess what? It's real. And what's real lasts. He doesn't want quick dopamine hits. He wants lasting respect. He doesn't want to impress strangers. He wants to feed his family, raise strong kids, and look in the mirror knowing he earned everything he had. You ever notice how the strongest men rarely speak the loudest? It's because they don't need to. Their presence speaks for them. Their results speak for them. That quiet power, that's what I'm talking about. That's what the working man represents. He's not looking for someone to save him. He is the savior in his world. When something breaks, he fixes it. When someone's in trouble, he steps up. That kind of man used to be the standard. Now they call him toxic or too intense. But intensity is what builds nations. Intensity is what protects family. Weakness never built anything worth keeping. There's a reason why, historically, men who work with their hands, who build and sweat and bleed for their lives, they're the ones people turn to when things go wrong. Because deep down, everyone respects the one who's proven he can endure. The one who doesn't crack under pressure. The one who never needed a handout, because he always kept his hands moving. And in a world of noise and distraction, the working man is clarity. He's purpose in motion. He's the one walking forward while everyone else is spinning in circles. Now maybe you're that man already, or maybe you're becoming him. Either way, know this. It's not the easiest road, but it's the most honorable one. When you die, they won't talk about your followers, your cars, your vacations. They'll talk about what you stood for, who you were when it was hard. And the working man, he stands tall, even when the world tries to beat him down. That's what makes him timeless. That's what makes him unstoppable. That's what makes him necessary. Always has been, always will be. There's something people need to understand. Real dignity doesn't come from a suit, a job title, or some flashy status. It comes from labor, from effort, from being a man who gets up day after day and handles business, no matter what. That's what gives you presence. Not what you say, but what you do. And the man who works, who shows up when he's tired, when he's doubted, when the odds are against him, that man walks with a quiet kind of pride you can't fake. You can't buy it, you earn it. And once you earn it, no one can take it from you. You see, we've got a generation of men who've been told that work is something to avoid, that labor is for the lesser man, that unless you're sitting in a penthouse, sipping cocktails and pretending to trade crypto, you've somehow failed. That mindset, it's poison. It weakens people. It disconnects them from reality. Because the truth is, labor is the foundation of progress. If you don't respect the grind, you'll never own the reward. That's just how the world works. The working man knows something deep in his core. There's pride in getting your hands dirty. There's pride in finishing the job. There's pride in knowing your value isn't tied to how much attention you get, but how much value you bring. That's real dignity. When you walk into a room and you know without saying a word that you've earned your place in the world, that is a powerful thing. That's a man who stands tall without needing to puff out his chest. He doesn't need applause. He doesn't need validation. He's grounded in his own effort. And effort is everything. Let me say this too. Dignity in labor isn't about staying poor or staying stuck. No, it's about knowing that every level of the climb matters. It's about owning your role at every stage. You're sweeping floors, sweep like a king. You're fixing pipes, own it. You're pulling double shifts to feed your kids. That's hero work. There is nothing shameful about hard work. What's shameful is laziness. What's shameful is entitlement. What's shameful is watching other men grind while you sit back criticizing, doing nothing, waiting for handout. That's not how real men move. The man who works with honor becomes unshakable. Because when you've built something with your hands, with your blood, with your late nights and early mornings, no one can shake your identity. That confidence, it's internal, it's rooted. It's not a mask. You don't have to pretend to be strong when you've been through struggle. The world tried to break you, but you showed up anyway. That's what creates real dignity. That's what carves strength into a man's soul. You want to talk about value? A man with dignity and labor brings more value than someone pretending to be important behind a desk, floating through life on ego. The working man gets things done, and that's what matters. Because at the end of the day, when the system crashes, when the tech fails, when the comforts disappear, who do people turn to? The builders, the fixers, the doers. The working man becomes the leader, because he never forgot how to function. And let me tell you something else. The working man doesn't complain. He doesn't whine about how unfair life is. He doesn't cry when things don't go his way. He adapts. He sharpens. He keeps moving. You think that attitude doesn't carry power? That's exactly what gives him the edge. While others are panicking, he's strategizing. While they're blaming the world, he's building his own. His labor becomes his discipline becomes his advantage, and his advantage becomes his legacy. What you do, how you carry yourself through that work, that is where your character is forged. A lazy man can fake it for a while. He can talk big, dress sharp, maybe fool a few people, but in the trenches, in the daily battle of responsibility, consistency and sacrifice, that's where the truth shows up. And the working man doesn't flinch, because he's been tested, he's been pushed, he's been through things most people wouldn't survive, and he came out stronger for it. Now, I'm not saying every man has to stay in the same place forever. Build, grow, elevate. Absolutely. But never lose respect for the roots. Never lose respect for the grind that got you there. If you forget that, you lose your edge. You become soft. You become weak. And a man without discipline is a man who can be controlled. But a man who still holds his dignity, no matter what role he's in, that's a man who can't be shaken. That's a man who walks into every room with power, not because of what he wears, but because of what he's earned. I've seen men with nothing in their pocket walk taller than millionaires, because their soul wasn't for sale. Their respect wasn't handed to them. They carved it with their effort. And you know what? People feel that. They respect that, because deep down, everybody knows the man who shows up, even when it's hard, that's the man you can count on. That's the man who leads. That's the man who wins. So don't run from work. Don't disrespect it. Don't try to shortcut it. Embrace it. Own it. Let it build you. Let it harden your mind and sharpen your instincts. Because when you learn to find pride in the process, no one can touch you. sacrifice and responsibility. These are two words most men run from. But they're the two things that define a real man, not money, not status, not how loud you can talk or how many people you can impress. The measure of a man is how much he's willing to carry and how much of that he's willing to carry without complaining. The working man understands this better than anyone because his whole life is built around sacrifice, around stepping up even when he's tired, even when he's hurting, even when it feels like no one sees it. That's not weakness. That's strength at its highest level. The world today is soft. It's filled with people who want reward without risk, comfort without cost. They've been sold this idea that if something doesn't feel good, it's not for them. That if life gets heavy, they should drop it and walk away. But the working man doesn't think like that. He understands that sacrifice is part of the game. You don't get to build a legacy without giving something up. It's time, energy, comfort, sometimes even your health. All of it has to be put on the line. And he does it every single day because he knows who he's doing it for. He's not living for likes. He's not chasing clout. He's chasing something real. His kids, his woman, his family, his future. And that requires him to put himself second. It means early mornings, missed birthdays, hard conversations, brutal decisions. He makes those sacrifices because he's built to. Because if he doesn't, who will? The working man doesn't sit around waiting for someone to step in. He becomes the protector, the provider, the rock, the one everyone can lean on, even when he's got no one to lean on himself. That kind of responsibility either crushes you or forges you, and he lets it forge him. You ever seen a man with 1,000 things weighing on his shoulders, still standing tall, still grinding, still pushing forward with no excuses? That's what real masculinity looks like. Not noise, not ego, not flexing, just carrying it all because he knows the mission matters more than his mood. And while the world keeps trying to tear down that kind of man, call him outdated, call him toxic, deep down everyone needs him. Because when things fall apart, he's the one who shows up. Calm, focused, dangerous in the right way. Sacrifice doesn't just mean giving something up. It means giving yourself up, piece by piece, to build something greater. That's what the working man does. He puts in hours that nobody thanks him for. He walks through pain nobody sees. He stays quiet about the pressure because he knows talking about it won't get the job done. He just moves. He just handles it. And that's what makes him different. That's what makes him necessary. You think he enjoys every single second of it? No. You think he doesn't feel the way? Of course he does. But he doesn't need to enjoy it. Because he understands that life isn't about chasing pleasure. It's about chasing purpose. And purpose always comes with pressure. But pressure is what turns coal into diamonds. It's what makes men men. The working man leans into that pressure. He lets it sharpen him. He becomes more precise, more resilient, more focused every time life tries to break him. And here's the truth. Not everybody's built for this. Some people would rather sit in comfort and watch their life pass by than step up and take responsibility for it. But the working man can't do that. He's wired different. Even when no one's watching. Even when the praise isn't there. Even when he feels invisible. He still shows up. Why? Because he's got people depending on him. Because he's got a future to protect. Because he knows that if he drops the weight, everything crashes. And that burden becomes his pride. Responsibility is heavy, but it's also what gives a man meaning. Without it, you drift, you rot, you become weak. Purpose comes from pressure, from having people count on you, from knowing that your actions matter. That's what the working man wakes up with every morning. That clarity, that duty, that mission. And it doesn't matter what's going on outside. Storms, setbacks, stress, because the fire inside him burns hotter. And that fire comes from one thing, knowing why he does it. You see, the world keeps pushing this lie that responsibility is a trap, that you should escape it. That freedom means having no obligations, no attachments, no pressure. That's not freedom. That's emptiness. Real freedom is earned. It's built on sacrifice. And the working man understands that. He doesn't run from responsibility. He owns it. He becomes it. That's why when you look into his eyes, you see something different. You see depth. You see struggle. You see resolve. And the truth is, he doesn't always get the recognition he deserves. He doesn't always get thanked, but he doesn't need it. Because he knows something most people don't. Results don't come from noise. They come from responsibility. He doesn't chase validation because he is validation. He doesn't talk about being a man. He just acts like one every single day. So when you see a man out there grinding, sacrificing, taking hits, but still pushing, respect him, learn from him. That's what a real leader looks like. Not the loudest guy in the room. Not the one making promises. The one who sacrifices in silence. Who takes responsibility and never lets it slip. Because a man who carries the weight for others is the man who changes everything. Discipline. That's the word. no one wants to hear anymore. It's not trendy, it's not exciting, but it's the one thing that separates the weak from the strong, the winners from the watchers, the ones who make a life from the ones who wait for one. Discipline is the engine. It's the daily fuel that turns sacrifice into success. And for the working man, it's not just a concept, it's a lifestyle. It's the invisible force that keeps him moving when everything in him wants to stop. It's what wakes him up before the alarm, gets him out the door before the sun, and keeps his mind locked in while everyone else is drifting. You know what soft men do? They wait for motivation. They think they need to feel like it to act. They need a quote, a playlist, a coffee, a mood. Discipline doesn't care about your mood. Discipline kills mood. Because while everyone's letting emotion drive the wheel, discipline's already halfway down the road, getting things done. The working man knows that. He knows success doesn't show up with confetti and congratulations. It shows up in silence. It shows up in routine. It shows up when you've done the same thing day in, day out, and never asked for a pat on the back. The truth is, life doesn't care about how you feel. The rents do whether you're motivated or not. Your kids need to eat whether you're tired or not. The weight of responsibility doesn't ease up just because you're having a bad day. So the working man learns to lock that in early. He becomes immune to excuses. He doesn't chase pleasure. He builds structure, and that structure gives him power. That structure is the fortress that protects him from the chaos of life. Discipline isn't just about grinding. It's about control. And in a world addicted to instant gratification, the man who can control himself becomes unstoppable. Think about it. Most people can't even control what they eat, when they sleep, or how long they stare at a screen. You really think those people are going to build something lasting? No. The man who masters his own impulses, he becomes a weapon. Because nothing can pull him off course. He decides what happened. He doesn't react. He acts. There's something powerful about knowing that you're not a slave to comfort, that you don't need to be in the right mood, have the perfect conditions, or hear someone cheering you on. You just do it. You show up. You execute. That's and it's rare, because it's hard, it's thankless, it's repetitive. But that's what makes it powerful. Because if it were easy, everyone would have it. And if everyone had it, it wouldn't mean anything. Let me be clear. Discipline doesn't mean you're a machine. It means you've made a choice, that your vision matters more than your emotions. It means you've trained your mind to follow through, even when the fire is gone. And trust me, the fire will go. You won't always be inspired. But the working man doesn't need inspiration. He's got habit. He's got focus. He's got a mission. And that mission drives him further than any motivational video ever could. It's also why the disciplined man is dangerous. Because you can't bait him. You can't distract him. You can't wear him down. While others are chasing highs and avoiding lows, he stays on the path. He doesn't get pulled into every emotion, every trend, every crisis. He stays locked in, calm, composed, focused. And when you stay focused long enough, you win. Not because you're faster, not because you're smart, but because you didn't quit. That's what discipline gives you. Endurance. Look around. Everyone wants fast results, fast money, fast recognition. But anything fast is fragile. It breaks. It disappears. The working man plays the long game. He knows that real success is built slow, with intention, with consistency, with discipline as the foundation. You can build fast and fall faster, or build slow and stand forever. And he chooses the second one every time. Now let's talk about something nobody likes to admit. Discipline gets lonely. Not everyone's gonna understand your focus. People will laugh, call you obsessed, say you're missing out. You'll miss parties, moments, distractions, and that's fine. Because the working man isn't trying to fit in. He's trying to build something that lasts long after everyone else is done playing around. And when those same people come back asking how you did it, how you stayed locked in, how you got so far ahead, the answer is simple. You didn't break. You stayed disciplined. You want respect? Start with self-respect. You want power? Start with self-control. You want freedom? Start with discipline. That's the price. That's the entry fee. Everyone wants to be a beast, until it's time to do what beasts do. But the working man, he does over and over, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. And here's what's crazy. The more disciplined you are, the simpler life becomes. You don't waste time on nonsense. You don't second guess every decision. You don't live in chaos. You wake up, you handle your business, and you move with purpose every day. That kind of clarity, that's rare. That's elite. And that's what gives the working man his edge. Because in the end, talent fades, luck runs out, connections dry up. But discipline, that stays. That shows up when nothing else does.
That's why the working man always finds a way to win. Not because it's easy, but because he's trained to show up when others won't. Discipline doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. Respect, real respect. That's something this world's forgotten. It used to be earned. Now people think it's owed to them just for existing. They think if they talk loud enough, or dress bold enough, people will fall in line and recognize them. But respect doesn't come from noise. It comes from work, from integrity, from consistency. You want to be respected, be the man that others can count on. Not the one who shows up when it's easy, the one who shows up when it's hard. The working man understands this deeply. Respect isn't something he chases. It's something he builds, slowly, brick by brick, through every early morning, every late night, every job finished, when nobody was watching. He doesn't need to demand respect. He becomes a man who commands it, simply by being who he is, by moving right, by standing on principle, when it would be easier to. That kind of respect, the silent kind, is the most powerful kind there is. See, most people want to be liked. They want to be accepted. But the working man, he isn't concerned with being liked. He's concerned with being respected. There's a difference. Being liked is emotional. It's fleeting. It shifts with people's moods. But respect, that's solid. It lasts. It roots itself in people's perception of your character. And character is revealed in the grind, in the storm, in the days when everything feels like it's against you, and you still move forward anyway. Respect is also not given based on what you say. It's based on what you prove. If you say you're disciplined, but your life's a mess, no one's respecting you. If you say you're loyal but fold the moment it gets tough, no one's trusting you. The working man doesn't talk. He lets his results speak. His life becomes the proof. His name becomes his bond. And that's how respect grows. Through action, not talk. There's something powerful about being the kind of man who doesn't flinch. The one people call when things fall apart. The one who has his world in order, because he's been through fire and didn't fold. That's what people respect. The strength, the resilience, the reliability. The man who doesn't need to be the center of attention, because his presence says more than his words ever could. And here's the truth. The working man earns respect the hard way. There are no shortcuts. You don't get respected because you complain. You don't get respected because you demand it. You get respected because you've paid your due, because you've carried the load, handled the pressure, and didn't run when things got ugly. That's how a man's reputation is formed. Not in comfort, but in chaos. That's where your name gets carved into people's minds. And let's not ignore this. Respect isn't just what you get from others. It's what you give yourself. You look in the mirror, and you know what you've done. You know how you've handled your responsibilities. You know if you've stood tall or crumbled under pressure. That's self-respect. That's the foundation. Because if you don't respect yourself, no one else will. And you can't buy that feeling. You can't fake it. It comes from earning it, from putting in the work, from staying true when no one's watching. That's why the working man walks different, talks different, loves different. Not because he's arrogant, but because he knows what he's been through. He's seen the inside of the grind. He's bled for what he has. He's fought silently. In that silent fight, gives him a confidence that you can feel. He doesn't need to prove anything. He already proved it to himself. That's the real flex. Self-respect, internal validation, strength that doesn't need applause. And if you want to be respected, long-term, you better start respecting the process. Respect the job. Respect the effort. Respect the man you're becoming, even when no one claps for you, especially when no one claps for you. Because the truth is, people will try to undermine you when you're on your way up. They'll downplay your effort. They'll mock your consistency. But if you keep showing up, keep building, keep moving right, eventually, the same people who doubted you will be forced to respect you. Why? Because results speak louder than words. Every time. Respect also comes from how you treat others. Don't get it twisted. Being strong doesn't mean being cruel. Being disciplined doesn't mean looking down on people. The working man treats others with dignity because he knows what it means to grind. He knows what it feels like to be overlooked. So he moves with quiet strength. He doesn't tolerate disrespect, but he doesn't have to throw his weight around either. He leads with presence. He commands with action. And he earns loyalty through example. The real ones, they see that. They gravitate toward it. They recognize the difference between flash and foundation. And they know this man's not for show. He's for real. That's how empires are built. That's how families are led. That's how respect lasts generations. You want your kids to respect you. Show them what consistency looks like. Show them what integrity means. Don't just talk about it. Be it, every day. Be the example that echoes long after you're gone. That's legacy. That's the final form of respect. The kind that lives on without you. And you build that now. In the everyday decisions. In the effort. In the way you carry yourself when nobody's looking. So stop chasing respect. And start living like the man who deserves it. Because when you move right, the world has no choice but to recognize respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you earn by becoming undeniable.